What's up, bodyweight warriors? Welcome back to another video and another vlog. We're joined as always by Coach Molly, and today we're going to be talking about lower body training, leg training, as a skinny leg calisthenics athlete. Because I know many of us have a slight aversion to proper leg training, myself included. But there just comes a day where you've got to accept your fate and realise that you just need to squat some heavy ass weight. It's just how it is. Coach Molly is also doing well. She's been training hard. She's actually been working on her stick pulls, 10 by 10 meters, getting a strong jaw, strong neck. She's a little savage. You savage? Don't think anyone believes that. Right, got some food, usual sort of stuff here. So essentially meat plus carbs, or meat and potatoes. Leftover roasted potatoes. I've got some ground beef here, about 500 grams of ground beef, and then some beetroots. And this is beetroot kimchi on top, which is pretty solid. Like, I'm a big fan of kimchi. And some Parmesan cheese in there as well. Beetroot is current favourite winter vegetable, I think. It's just powerful, high in nitrates. Nitrates are obviously good for blood flow and many other reasons, but yeah, simple food. The bulk is still continuing at the moment. I'm around 92 kilos in body weight, aiming for about 94 in the next sort of month or two, and then maybe some cutting, we'll see. This kind of brings me on to back to the leg training, and really the focus of today's episode is the road to double body weight squat. The road to not being a skinny leg calisthenics guy and actually squatting a respectable number, around 185, 180, so that's 4 plates. That's like, in my opinion, that's a reasonable number. Like, that's an all right squat. That's a respectable squat. As somebody who spent time in the trenches training it, which, although I have done weighted leg training in the past, I've started off powerlifting and Olympic lifting. That's kind of how I got into a lot of this sort of stuff, and that's what I did to begin with. I don't think I've really properly spent the time in the trenches squatting, doing the work like I have with bodyweight training, handstands, etc. I haven't got enough skin in the game, and that's why I'd say I'm approaching this one a little bit more tentatively than I would with usual videos on the channel, because although I'm not the most flexible person, I'm not the strongest person when it comes to calisthenics, or the most talented with handstands. I'm all right, and I've certainly spent my time practicing those disciplines. I feel like whatever I talk about, I can talk about with some level of confidence. I've studied and I've practiced, I've done the time. Weighted leg training, although I have studied a lot under sort of Poliquin and those sort of systems, I understand programming for leg training. I certainly wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I don't want to come at this in terms of like, I know everything about squatting and weighted leg training, because I really don't. I have an understanding, but that's kind of part of what this year is about. But this really isn't going to be supportive of the overall calisthenics goals. Right, so let's be real. This one isn't about being better at calisthenics. Ultimately, we're adding mass in a way that is not functional for the function of doing upper body skills. Even something as simple as the chin up, we're adding additional load where it's not relevant to that movement. For a planche, for the front lever, we're adding weight to the wrong end of the lever. We're adding it to the leg. It's going to make that lever heavier. It's going to be actually more beneficial if we can add more mass to the upper body. It's going to be more preferential in terms of where our loading is, and that's why you see gymnasts and they have small legs. They're not weak legs, they're not powerful legs. Those guys can do crazy tumbling and jumps. They're just not big. And ultimately, if you want to squat heavy, there is some element that, you know, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, and to support certainly something around, you know, that 180 mark, you're going to need a little bit of size on the legs. So this one has, you know, this is counterproductive to the overall bodyweight goals. I want to do it simply for the reason that I want to squat some heavy ass weight. There's really nothing more to it. So I've been back to squatting somewhat consistently now for the past 6 months, or doing weighted leg training for the past 6 months. It's really been a matter of building up capacity, which to anyone who's maybe getting into some leg training, who hasn't done it for a while, that should be your first priority. You need to build that foundation, much the same as anything in training. You need to have a proficiency with, you know, chin-ups, rows, push-ups, plank push-ups to build for handstand push-ups, planche, front lever, etc. Same thing with squatting. You need to have some good capacity and just build up that work volume. And that's what I've been doing, and I kind of worked up, tested my 1 rep max at the point of around the beginning of the year, Christmas sort of time, and I managed to do 125 for a single at a body weight of just around 90 kilos. So by no means anything special. That's not quite 1 1/3 of body weight. I think certainly the heaviest that I've squatted in the past 3 years prior to that point was only around the 100 kilo mark. So with that in mind, I wanted to share with you today my current lower body conditioning, my lower body training session, which I'm doing just once per week at the moment. Certainly with terms of max strength stuff, you can make good progression with like squat and deadlift. They're relatively simple movements. Once per week is good. There is some argument, some benefit to high frequency training, but for myself personally, at the point in time that I'm at the moment, I'm doing a lot of renovations to house and a lot of physical work outside of this. Once per week is spot on for me. So here's the session. Right, so leg training, we're gonna kick things off with actually the body weight, the king of body weight leg training exercises, maybe the Nordic curl, something that I've sort of achieved. I'm still working on. That's going to also be kind of on the cards, on the goal for this year. I was just really testing kind of at the beginning, kind of as a warm up as well to the session, just kind of seeing how close I could get to full reps. But I've definitely still got a little bit of piking that I need to iron out, but I'm certainly really happy with how my hamstring strength has developed over the past sort of 6 months to a year that I've been training the Nordic curl. We'll get on to a little bit more of that one later, but let's talk about squatting. So at the moment, I am just doing normal back squatting. I don't use lifting shoes because I've got plenty of ankle range of motion, and I'm trying to perform these in a decent range of motion. I'm not like I'm maxing out as to grass, but I'm certainly trying to perform this in a full range of motion, not just getting to 90 degrees. I'm performing wave loading today. So really this phase of training is kind of testing where I can get to with my neurological limit. So wave loading is a potentiation sort of form of training. So we'd use, in this example, a 3-2-1 wave. So we do 1 wave of 3 reps, 2 reps, 1 rep, with the idea that you increase the weight on each of them so they're hard, and then you repeat that 3-2-1 again afterwards. And with that potentiation of the nervous system that we get from that first wave, we should be able to do more the second time we will repeat those rep ranges. Kind of working up to a training 1 rep max of sorts on that final 6th set of 1 rep. This one is a little bit just about getting the loading right and understanding how to load those jumps and those increments in terms of training. And this one can be applied kind of at lots of different, you can do like 6-4-2s, 5-3-1, 5-3-2. There's loads of different wave loading patterns that you can do. This is the current one I'm doing, as I said, to try and test out kind of where my max in terms of that position is at the moment in training. Today I worked up to 120 kilos, which was certainly a grind of a rep, but not bad considering, again, 6th set and some fatigue from the Nordics as well. Certainly my personal weak point at the moment is not hamstrings, it is in fact the quads, and that's because, you know, the Nordics and a lot of other hamstring work, which has been arguably my priority for the past sort of 6 months. So I'm going to follow this up with another 4 sets of squatting, but this time I'm going to use the SSB, the safety squat bar. Now what this bar does, it has a little bit of a camber in it, so it helps to position the weights whilst in a back squat position more anterior loading. So it's going to focus more on those quads. It's going to be closer to a front squat, but with the comfort of a back squat, basically. The main reason I'm adding this in is because really for myself personally, the weakness is the quadriceps. You can kind of see in that grindy 120 kilos that the hips want to raise first, and I'm almost trying to shift the weight into hamstrings and glutes to get it up rather than being able to press out of my quads. So I'm just trying to get my quads stronger, my quads bigger, and more squats is the way to go with these kind of pause safety squat bar ones. So those anterior loaded squats. Really, there's nothing else to it here. More volume, more accumulation with the work done, and just trying to get the quads stronger, and also stronger and more capacity in that squat position. As for the hamstrings, I'm keeping things pretty basic. I'm not necessarily doing the Nordics because it's kind of a hard, still 1RM effort for me. So I had a little bit of the beginning just to kind of test things out, but the majority of my work at the moment seems to be on a lying leg curl. I'm actually doing the Gironda style of lying leg curl. So this is where you lift the torso up. So you have a roughly straight line between the thighs and the upper body, and this changes the angle at the pelvis. You can just try both, and this one is significantly harder, but it also mimics closer what we're trying to get with something like the Nordic, where we're looking for that knee flexion drill, but with the torso to remain straighter as opposed to piking. So that's the main reason for the weird looking leg curls. Then we're on to the forsaken limbs, the calves. Actually was called out in the bodyweight bulk series. I think like one of the top comments was like, what about the calf circumference? Yeah, we're not talking about that one, but I am definitely training it. I know it's a weak point, both in terms of aesthetics and also strength. My calves are just weak. So I'm just basically doing standing calf raises, 4 to 6 reps, nothing else to it. Just do the work, get stronger, literally as simple as that. And then finally, finishing up with some flexibility training, because I haven't maybe mentioned, but obviously I've spent time doing flexibility, I've spent time getting splits, although they kind of hover in and out of being there. I still don't want to lose that capacity. I still want to be able to squat 180 and also be able to do full middle splits, full front splits. So I'm still training those splits. This one I'm doing adductor flies, so that active range of motion is something that's always been a limiting factor for me and is certainly weak. And then I'm supersetting that with just some slide out passive middle split holds to kind of combine that active, using the range of motion with the side split combined with the passive sitting in a stretch, stretching the muscle that was just being worked. Nice and simple, kind of minimum effective dose when it comes to maintaining / creating a little bit of flexibility. But that is basically my training at the moment. But yeah, that is basically it for the current lower body. That's kind of where things are. I think this is a good introduction to kind of what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. I'm sure this will change over the coming months, and I want to share kind of how my training is changing and what I'm learning, because as I said, I haven't spent the time in the trenches that I should have done to really comment on this as an expert, quote unquote. So I'm still very much learning, but I want to hear from you. Like, what do you want to see from this series? What would be helpful to your own training? Are you interested just to see kind of how I get on, or do you want me to kind of share some tips and tricks and the things that I've learned when it comes to lower body training and potentially kind of where that sits in with calisthenics? I don't know, like, just let me know kind of what you're interested in, and I'll do my best to not only educate myself and learn, but also pass that on and share that with you. So let me know in the comment section down below. Other than that, hit that thumbs up button and support the channel. Highly appreciate it. And right next to it is the subscribe button if you want to join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe and don't miss out on any more future videos. But other than that, that's basically it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week, and peace.